Hi friends, welcome back to Sheena's Homestead. If you're new here, I'm Sheena and this is my homestead. Today we are going to make some awesomely epic sugar cookies for Jacob's first communion. His communion is this Saturday. He's super excited and we're throwing him a really nice party at one of our favorite restaurants. So Jacob he's quite the funny kid. He is the third child in our family and third child out of 4, and he is the only boy. He is my sweetheart, and he's very, very sensitive and very, very sweet and kind. And he often thinks of others before he thinks of himself. So this week I told him, well actually I asked him, are you excited for your party? And he said, what party? He had no idea that we were going to throw him a party after his communion, so he's very excited and he feels very special. So today I'm gonna make him feel even more special by making my famous sugar cookies. I'm sure you've seen in past episodes where I make these. I actually made them around Christmas time, and this is a tradition that my mom started. She always volunteered for all of the school parties, and she was always head room mom. And it made me feel super special that she loved and cared about me. And she would always make sugar cookies, and she did just such a cute, elaborate themed display for whatever it was. One of my favorite ones was in 5th grade. I had a male teacher and his wife was having a baby. So she did a whole baby shower themed tray of cookies, and they were just so cute, and I'll never ever forget that. And it made me feel special that my mom was willing to put so much effort into something for me and my classroom. So I am passing that tradition along and making Jacob feel special this weekend. So let me share my recipe with you. I've actually moved my mixer to the island so that you can see better. We don't have any power to our island yet. We're working on that. So usually I cook back there, as you know, but today I'm gonna cook right up here with you. So let's get started. First things first, I always use my paddle attachment with the spatula edge for this recipe. The mixer is a little deep for these cookies, and if you don't have something like the spatula edge, a lot of times stuff kind of collects at the bottom of the bowl and doesn't get mixed in. So you want to make sure that you're using a spatula or something yourself to dig down deeper and make sure all of those ingredients are incorporated and mixed in well. Okay, so for this recipe, I actually weigh out all of the ingredients. That's not something I normally do. I'm kind of like a scratch cooker. I just throw in handfuls of stuff. Even when I'm baking, like, it's fine to measure everything out, but I don't usually weigh it and stuff like that. Today I am weighing it because this is a very fickle recipe, and I have done it many, many times. So there are times where your flour is just too dense and it really changes the consistency of your cookies. And we do not want that. So I have weighed everything out. I'll link below the exact measurements for everything. I will still include the cups and, you know, measurements and stuff, but I'll also put the weight in grams so that you can follow along too. Okay, so to start, we're gonna put our room temperature butter into our mixer. This is unsalted butter. And we're also going to add our powdered sugar. And we want to do this very slowly. Our next step is to add 1 egg. I am going to use our duck egg. If you by chance have access to duck eggs, they are incredible for baking. They have a higher fat content, higher omega-3s. So when you're baking with them, they tend to bind everything together really well. So I save the duck eggs for baking. So if you can get any near you, they really do make a difference in your baked goods. So if you can get your hands on some, I suggest you do. So this is what your batter should look like at this point. It should be light and fluffy. Next up is our vanilla. You can substitute vanilla for any flavor you like. Some people use almond. Almond is a really nice flavor for these cookies. Some people do half almond, half vanilla, but I'm gonna do all vanilla today. Okay, so now we have our flour and our baking soda. And I am just going to whisk this together. Make sure there's no lumps. If you want to get uber professional, you can sift this flour and put it in a little at a time. So just add it to your batter in small amounts and go slow. So this is the part where you want to make sure everything from the bottom has gotten incorporated, everything from the sides. So I usually do a very good scrape down, and then I'll let that mix together, and then I turn it on high just for a second to make sure we got all of it in there. Helps any of the flour that's loose on the top of the paddle attachment come off too. Okay. I think she's done. So now what we're going to do is get this off. All right, let's make some room for ourselves here. And the next step is we're going to scrape this all out of the bowl and put it onto a piece of plastic wrap. And we have to let it chill. I am probably going to let this chill for an hour, and then we can pull the dough out, roll it out, get it cut into shapes. Once we get it cut into shapes, I'll put it on a cookie sheet. And then after that, we'll put it back in the refrigerator so that it can firm up just a little bit. And that is the secret to keeping your sugar cookie edges really crisp. Here's Jacob at the window. He's watching me make his special cookies. Okay, so while that chills, we're gonna start on the royal icing recipe. Royal icing can also be very finicky, so I have weighed out all of my ingredients. We're gonna start with egg whites only, and I'm using duck egg whites again, but you can use chicken egg whites, totally fine. And then I have powdered sugar. I love organic powdered sugar, but let me tell you, organic powdered sugar is not quite white. It's like kind of a dingy, I wish I could say cream. It's not even cream. It really does look like a dingy color when you make it into royal icing, which is totally fine if you're using food coloring. That would be great. That's totally fine. Today we're doing some white doves and things like that, so I'm using conventional powdered sugar. And we also have our vanilla. Now, let me tell you, royal icing's #1 enemy is oil. So you want to make sure that you clean your mixer really, really, really well, and that you don't have any leftover butter or oil from another recipe or whatever, because that will completely and totally deflate your royal icing. I begin by putting my egg whites in first. And I'm going to put them up, and I'm just going to whip them a little bit. Try to get some air into them. Okay, now this is a process you didn't see me do, but I was running low on my cream of tartar, so I just scraped what was left into this mix. But cream of tartar really, really helps to hold that peak that's what you're trying to achieve when you're making royal icing. You want it to be nice and stiff as you pull your whisk attachment out of the bowl, and cream of tartar really helps with that. So we're gonna put this in a little bit at a time. It's the name of our game today. Scrape down the sides just a bit. So now it is at the perfect consistency for outlining. So you're gonna want to have your frosting at two different consistencies. One a little thicker so that you can outline the edge of the cookie, and then another consistency which is called flooding for the inside of your cookie. That part is a lot more liquid, and it's easier to maneuver and kind of push around your cookie, and it fills the cookie a lot faster. So we are going to leave half of this as the thicker form, and then we're going to add a little bit to another set so that we can have our flooding frosting as well. So first, let me just put some of this in here to reserve for later. You can see how thick it is. It's perfect. It still moves off of a spoon, but not very quickly. So that's perfect. Estimate about half. The one thing about this is you can always add more liquid to your border frosting. You can't take liquid out of what you've already made here. So you want to make sure that you leave yourself enough for the borders, and I think that should be about good for me. We are going to add another another egg white. Now I'm just going to use one of our chicken eggs. Put that right in. Oops. Get that whipped up. Now we have our flooding frosting as well. And let me get a new bowl to put it in. This is where the fun happens, because we're going to mix up some colors. Yeah, I'll have this one. I'll take these out. So this is the part where you want to think ahead and figure out what colors you want to do. I'm going to do a baby blue, and I think I'm going to leave the rest white. But then I'm probably going to put an eye on the dove. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. I'll probably do that in black. And then I'll do the beak in orange. Okay, so we've made it this far and we're still not even halfway there yet. I mean, I guess I'd say we're halfway there, but it has been quite a day of prepping. For this part, I'm going to put on my vintage apron. I probably should have had this on the whole time, but now is the messier part because we're gonna roll out these cookies and then we're gonna start getting them shaped up. After we get them cut, we'll put them on the pan and get them in the refrigerator. They'll rest there for a little bit longer and then we'll bake them, then we'll ice them. So you can see, it is a labor of love, but it's worth it in the end. Now for the next step, we are going to roll out our dough. You want to make sure that you are rolling your dough out very evenly so that your cookies bake evenly and the icing doesn't roll off from side to side. As many cookie cutters onto this rollout as possible. The first time you roll out your dough is often the best roll. Of course you can use the leftover dough, roll it out again, but it never seems to be as technically strong as it was the first round. All right, our first tray is going in. And now on to the very best part, icing. So as you can see here, I am just outlining the edge of the cookie. You want to get close to the edge, but not too close. And I'm using my thicker white icing so that I can do a complete border, and all of the flooding icing will stay right in the middle. So now you'll see I'm going to use this just to put the thinner icing right there, and then I kind of move it around, and you can see how much more liquidy it is than my border frosting. So you just continue to squeeze gradually as more comes out, and then you just use the tip to kind of fill in the spots and fill up that cookie. And ta-da! Our very first one. We just have 955,000 more to go. Well, as you can see, this was an all-day event. It really does take a lot of time to do cookies like this, but it's totally worth it, and it is a crowd pleaser for sure, and the recipient is always really, really happy and feels super special. as they should. So I'm gonna continue finishing these up and then I'll photograph them in the morning for you. But until then, I just wanted to say thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you don't mind, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me a lot. And if you don't mind, share me with a friend. That would be even better. Thanks so much, friends. I'll see you next time on Sheena's Homestead. Bye.